The galaxy was old. It stretched like a sea of endless stars, filled with countless civilizations, empires, and councils. Yet beneath all the brilliance of new worlds and rising powers, there were whispers. Whispers of a race that had walked the stars long before the younger ones. They were called the Elders. No one truly remembered them. Their history was not written in books or carved in stone, but scattered across ruins on distant planets. Sometimes explorers found broken machines half buried in alien deserts or strange towers, standing silent on moons where no people lived. The younger races studied these things and wondered, who were the Elders? Why had they vanished? And why had they left behind only fragments of their greatness? The common belief was simple. The Elders had burned themselves out as many powerful species did. They rose high, perhaps too high, and then collapsed under the weight of their own ambition. Time erased them, and the galaxy moved on. Empires of reptilian warlords, insectoid hive queens, machine-forged minds, and starborn traders now filled the assembly halls, believing themselves the true masters of the stars. But the whispers never stopped. Some races feared the Elders might one day return. Others laughed at the idea, calling it myth. After all, thousands of years had passed without a single sign. That was until the signals began. It started in the rim of the galaxy, far beyond the borders of great empires. Small colonies first reported them, strange bursts of sound across the void, echoes that no translation system could understand. At first, the assembly dismissed it as cosmic noise. Stars often sang in ways machines mistook for language. But the signals grew clearer, stronger, and more structured. They pulsed like a heartbeat. A research vessel was the first to catch something unusual. It was orbiting a dead star when its sensors detected a repeating code. Unlike any known language, it carried rhythm almost like music. The crew sent the recordings back to the assembly, and debates began. Some called it proof of a new rising species. Others whispered that the Elders were stirring. Months later, exploration fleets traveled to abandoned sectors where ruins lay. And there, something extraordinary was found. An ancient station, silent for thousands of years, suddenly came alive. Its lights flickered, its engines hummed, and its systems began to operate again as if it had only been sleeping. The explorers tried to enter, but the doors refused to open. The machines within worked on their own, not welcoming visitors, not hostile either. They simply ignored the outsiders. Across the galaxy, more ruins awakened. On distant moons, towers lit with blue energy. On forgotten planets, long-dead machines began to repair themselves. Whole cities once buried in dust opened their gates to empty air. It was as if the past was reclaiming its place among the stars. The younger races grew uneasy. Were these things simply old machines, set on timers to wake after ages? Or had someone returned to guide them? In the grand assembly, where 1,000 voices argued, fear grew louder than reason. The insectoid queens demanded fleets be prepared. The machine-forged minds called for careful observation. The reptilian warlords sharpened their claws, hungry for conquest of ancient technology. Yet no one truly knew what was happening. Then came the first encounter. A small patrol fleet from the Xylar Dominion was investigating a barren system when they found movement near a broken moon. Their scanners revealed a vessel unlike any in their records. It was sleek, dark, and scarred, as if it had endured many battles. Its design did not match any known species. The Xylar ships hailed it in every language of the assembly. At first there was silence. Then a voice responded. Not mechanical, not insectoid, not reptilian, but strangely soft. The words were not understood, but the tone carried something unsettling. Determination. The mysterious ship did not attack. It did not flee. It simply observed, then vanished into faster-than-light travel. The Xylar fleet tried to pursue, but failed. The stranger had technology equal or greater than their own. The report shocked the assembly. Who were these beings? Were they truly the Elders? On a distant colony world, an old scholar named Luthen studied ancient records. He was one of the few who had devoted his life to searching for clues about the vanished race. When he compared the new signals with fragments of old ruins, his heart trembled. The patterns matched. These are not strangers, he whispered to himself in the quiet of his library. These are the ones we lost, the ones we thought gone. The assembly called him to speak, but many mocked his words. You believe fairy tales, one warlord sneered. If they are Elders, why do they look like fragile flesh creatures? No scales, no armor, no hives, no steel. They cannot be the great power of legend. But Luthen only shook his head. Do not judge by their bodies. Judge by what they have survived. More sightings followed. In system after system, the mysterious ships appeared. Sometimes they observed. Sometimes they helped repair damaged colonies under attack from raiders. Sometimes they only left gifts, containers of food, clean water, or old medicines. The younger races grew divided. Some saw them as saviors, others as a looming threat. Every empire prepared, fearing war, while secretly hoping to seize. Whatever knowledge these beings carried, it was not until a desperate message arrived from a frontier world that the truth grew harder to deny. A colony, near the dark edges of space, was under siege by raiders. Their distress calls went unanswered by their empire, for the fleet was too far away. Just when hope was fading, a fleet of the mysterious ships appeared. They fought with precision, using strange but effective weapons. The raiders were scattered, defeated in hours. When the colonists tried to thank their saviors, the strangers finally spoke in clear words through translators. "We are not gods. We are not myths. We are simply human." The name echoed across the assembly chambers like a storm. Human. No record carried that word. No archive spoke of them. And yet in hidden ruins, fragments of old carvings matched the sound. The elders had always been there, silent in history, forgotten in dust. Now they had returned, not as distant legends, but as living beings with voices, ships, and choices. The galaxy was no longer the same. The whispers of myth had become truth, and every race wondered, why had they returned, and what did they want? No one had the answer. But one thing was certain. The shadows of the past were no longer silent. The elders had returned, and the galaxy was about to learn their true name. The assembly chamber had never been so full. Every seat, every balcony, every glowing crystal screen was active. From the cold machine voices of the forge minds to the deep rumble of the reptilian warlords, all attention was on a single subject, the mysterious race that had appeared among them. Humans. The word was still strange to many tongues. Some spoke it with curiosity, others with unease. No record in the vast archives of the galaxy contained that name. And yet these beings claimed it with confidence. The first speaker of the assembly, a towering insectoid queen with silver wings, struck her staff to bring silence. "We are gathered," she said, "to decide what must be done about these strangers. They call themselves humans. They walk in ships unknown to us. They awaken ruins we believed dead. Who are they, and why did they return now?" Her question filled the chamber like a heavy weight. No one answered quickly. At the far end of the table, Scholar Luthen cleared his throat. His voice was small compared to the thunder of empires, yet it carried wisdom. "I have studied the ruins of old worlds. For decades I searched for signs of the lost elders. The patterns match. These humans are no newcomers. They are the ones we once called the first builders." A ripple of noise spread across the chamber. The reptilian warlord Threx snarled, his scales flashing red. "Impossible. Those stories are myths. If these humans are truly the elders, then why are they weak in flesh? Why do they not tower over us with power?" Luthen only shook his head. "Do not mistake appearance for weakness. Strength is not always in size nor in steel. Sometimes it is in the will that refuses to die." But few listened. Most of the assembly remained doubtful, even afraid. While leaders argued, more reports flowed in. Sightings of human ships spread like wildfire. They appeared in border systems, in abandoned sectors, even near trade routes. At first, they caused no harm. They helped stranded ships, shared water with colonies running dry, and gave medicine to plague-struck villages. They asked for nothing in return. This made them admired by some, but distrusted by others. The warlord Threx declared, "No race offers gifts without cost. They hide their true purpose. Perhaps they prepare to enslave us all." The forge minds, cold and logical, disagreed. Their actions suggest a will to aid, not conquer. Yet their technology is dangerous. If we do not understand it, they may gain power over us. The assembly was divided. One day, everything changed when the Xylar Dominion sent an official fleet to make contact. The fleet traveled to the empty system of Heron's star, where a signal had been traced. There, floating near the broken rings of a dead planet, they found 3 human ships. They were not shining vessels of perfection, but scarred, patched and rebuilt many times. Their hulls carried marks of battles that no one could name. The Xylar flagship hailed them. "Identify yourselves," the commander said. After a long pause, a human voice replied, The words were rough, their accent strange, but through translators the message was clear. We are travelers. We are survivors. We are human. The Xylar commander pressed further. Where did you come from? What is your purpose in this galaxy? The reply was softer yet firm. We come from a place you do not know. Long ago we walked these stars, but we vanished into fire. Now we return. Not to rule, not to conquer, but to endure. The Xylar commander reported every word to the assembly. The effect was like fire in dry grass. The galaxy buzzed with questions. If humans once walked among the stars, what drove them away? What wars had scarred them so deeply? And why had they chosen this moment to return? Meanwhile, ordinary people across colonies began to speak of them with fascination. To the farmers of the Rim, humans were heroes who saved them from raiders. To merchants, they were mysterious allies who restored lost trade routes. To soldiers, they were puzzling fighters who used outdated-looking ships yet somehow outsmarted modern fleets. Children on distant worlds even began to play games, pretending to be human defenders, standing strong against imaginary foes. The name was spreading faster than the assembly could control. Still, many leaders remained fearful. If they survived wars that erased them from history, said the insectoid queen, what enemies did they face? And what if those enemies still exist? Her words proved chillingly close to the truth. One quiet night in the assembly capital, a meeting took place in secret chambers. Several leaders gathered without recorders or translators. Among them were the Forge Mind Prime, the reptilian warlord Threx, and the insectoid queen herself. They are dangerous, Threx growled, not because of what they do, but because of what they could become. If they rally the smaller races, our empires may crumble, the Forge Mind's cold voice echoed. Agreed. Their adaptability is alarming. Machines calculate in straight lines. Humans twist and bend. They act without pattern. This makes them unpredictable. The queen added, if the stories are true, then they are the elders returned. And if they are elders, they may hold secrets beyond our reach. Secrets that could shift the balance of power forever. They did not agree whether to ally with the humans or to prepare for war. But one truth bound them all. The galaxy could not ignore them any longer. Far from politics, in the emptiness of the void, the humans themselves spoke among their own. On the bridge of a scarred vessel, Captain Mara stood with her crew. She was not tall nor armored, but her eyes held a fire of experience. Around her were people who had traveled with her through endless dangers. Engineers, pilots, medics, all bearing the same quiet strength. More races are watching us, her second officer said. They think we are either saviors or threats. Mara gave a tired smile. Let them think. We did not come to rule them. We came to live. That is all. Survival first. Always survival, her crew nodded. They were not conquerors. They had no empire. They had no council to speak for them. They were wanderers, scattered across the galaxy, carrying only the memory of a home long lost. But in their hearts, they carried something far more powerful than weapons. Hope. Soon after, fate tested them again. A neutral colony, not tied to any empire, was attacked by raiders. Their defenses failed. Their calls for help went unanswered. Just when the raiders prepared to burn the settlement, human ships appeared. The humans fought with cunning rather than strength. They used old vessels as bait, leading raiders into traps hidden among asteroids. They sacrificed one ship to save 1,000 lives. They fought as if loss was natural, but victory was necessary. When the battle ended, the raiders fled. The colony was saved. The colonists tried to thank their saviors. This time, the humans gave an answer that spread across the stars. Remember this, we are not myths. We are not gods. We are human. And we endure. The message reached every corner of the galaxy. To some, it was a warning. To others, it was a promise. The assembly could no longer deny their presence. The elders had returned, but they did not call themselves elders. They called themselves human. The galaxy had learned a new word, and it carried a weight heavier than history. And deep beyond the rim, something darker stirred in the void, waiting for its own return. The galaxy had many strong races. Some were mighty in body, like the scaled Xylar who crushed metal with bare claws. Others were powerful in mind, like the Forge Minds whose thoughts were machines of pure logic. Many believed that true strength came from size, weapons, or numbers. But the humans did not fit into these measures. They were smaller than many, weaker than most, and their ships looked patched, old, even broken. Yet wherever they went, they left behind victories that no one expected. This puzzled the galaxy. And it frightened them too. It began with whispers. Merchant captains told of human crews who repaired engines faster than anyone. Soldiers spoke of battles where humans, though outnumbered, turned defeat into survival. Farmers said that when disasters struck their colonies, humans worked night and day until the fields grew again. Strange creatures, one merchant said in a crowded spaceport. They look fragile, but they never give up. Even when you think they are finished, they stand again. The stories spread, and with them, both admiration and fear. In the Grand Assembly, the debate raged hotter. They are dangerous, said Warlord Threx, pounding his clawed hand on the table. They win battles they should lose. That is not natural. The Forge Mind Prime responded in a voice like rolling thunder. It is not unnatural. It is adaptability. They bend where others break. They change faster than our calculations predict. That is why they endure. The Insectoid Queen added, they do not fight like us. They fight as if failure is part of the path, not the end. This unsettles even the bravest warriors. The assembly fell into silence. For many, the truth was clear. Humans had a strength unlike any other race. That truth became undeniable when the pirates of the Black Maw attacked the neutral world of Rethar. Rethar was a small colony, rich in trade and resources but poorly defended. Its people had always trusted in neutrality, believing that no empire or raider would harm them. But the Black Maw had no respect for such hopes. Their fleet descended like a storm, demanding tribute. The colonists begged for help, sending distress calls across the stars. No empire responded, for Rethar did not belong to any of them. Only the humans came. Captain Mara led the fleet. Her ships were not many, just 5 vessels, all patched and scarred. Against the 20 raider ships of the Black Maw, they looked like prey, not predators. The colonists wept, thinking their saviors would only die with them. But the humans did not speak of despair. They spoke of plans. Listen well, Captain Mara told her crew. We cannot match their firepower. We cannot match their numbers, but we can make them bleed in ways they cannot imagine. We can outthink them. Her crew nodded. They had lived through worse. Survival was their way. The battle began. The Black Maw ships charged forward, their cannons blazing. The humans scattered, pretending to flee. The raiders laughed and pursued, believing victory was already theirs. But then the traps were sprung. The humans had hidden charges among the asteroids. When the raiders followed, explosions tore through their ranks, breaking formations. Human ships darted between rocks, using the environment to shield them. One human vessel deliberately sacrificed itself, colliding with a raider cruiser and disabling its engines. The crew escaped in pods, rescued by other human ships, while the burning wreck became a weapon. Another human ship, seemingly broken, lured 2 raiders into a dead moon's orbit. At the right moment, its engines ignited, pulling both enemies into the moon's gravity well, where they crashed. Every move was desperate, but every move was clever. By the time the smoke cleared, the Black Maw fleet was broken. Half their ships destroyed, the rest fleeing into the dark. Rethar was saved. The colonists stood in awe. They asked the humans how they won. The answer was simple. We lost ships, Captain Mara said. We lost much. But loss is not the end. We fight, we fall, we rise again. That is what it means to be human. The colonists spread her words, and soon the galaxy repeated them. In the days that followed, more races began to respect the humans. Not because they were stronger, but because they showed something greater: resilience. The Xylar warlord, though still proud, admitted in private, they are not like us. They fight with their hearts, not just their claws. Perhaps that is why they win. Even the Forge Minds, who trusted only in cold logic, began to run simulations. Time after time, their models showed that when placed in impossible situations, humans found paths that should not exist. The galaxy had seen many powerful races, but none like this. Yet admiration soon turned to unease. If humans could win against odds, what would stop them from one day rising higher than all others? If they endured every storm, who could prevent them from eventually becoming rulers of the stars? The assembly feared what they did not understand. Meanwhile, the humans continued their quiet work. They repaired colonies, defended the weak, and charted forgotten star lanes. They did not ask for payment, though they often accepted food, shelter, or fuel. They seemed content to live, to survive another day. But among themselves, they carried secrets. In the quiet of her ship, Captain Mara stood before a star map, her eyes tracing paths no other race remembered. Her second officer joined her. "They still do not trust us," he said. "They do not have to," Mara replied. "We are not here for their trust. We are here because something is coming." Her officer frowned. "Do you mean the Voidborn?" Mara's face grew hard. "Yes, we fought them once. We thought we ended them. But the signs are there. They are stirring again. And when they rise, the galaxy will need us, whether it likes us or not." Far away in the silent dark beyond the rim, shadows moved. Ships of strange design, older than empires, stirred awake. The Voidborn were not yet ready, but their hunger grew. The humans knew this. The rest of the galaxy did not. In the assembly, arguments continued, but the voice of Scholar Luthen carried new weight. "You call them fragile," he said to the gathered leaders. "You call them weak. Yet they defeat foes greater than themselves. Do you not see? Their strength is not in their flesh or their weapons. It is in their spirit. They are dangerous because they cannot be broken." Some leaders nodded. Others turned away in denial. But deep inside, every race knew the truth. A storm was coming. And in that storm, the only race that might hold the line were the ones who called themselves human. The galaxy had measured strength and power for too long. Now it began to learn a new lesson. Strength was not always about claws, steel, or fire. Sometimes strength was about standing after every fall. Sometimes strength was about refusing to let despair win. And in that, no race matched the humans. The galaxy had begun to notice humans not as myths, but as a reality that could no longer be ignored. Everywhere their deeds were spoken of. Colonies saved, fleets defeated, disasters avoided. For the first time in centuries, many species began to whisper that perhaps humans were more than mere survivors. They were something extraordinary. But admiration came with fear. In the Grand Assembly, the debates were louder and sharper than ever. Warlord Threx, whose claws had crushed fleets before, banged his fist on the table, making the crystal panels tremble. "They are dangerous," he growled. "We have measured power in hundreds of ways. But humans, these weak, fragile beings, win where others fail. How? That is not natural. That is a threat." The insectoid queen, silver wings folding tightly, nodded. "I do not claim they are a threat, but we cannot ignore what we do not understand. Their victories are unlike anything we have ever seen. Other races fight with strength, with armies. Humans fight with will, that is, unsettling." The Forge Mind Prime spoke next, its voice humming like distant lightning. "Their logic defies prediction. In simulations, no calculation can anticipate human action in extreme scenarios. If they rise, it will not be by force alone. It will be by adaptation, by unity, by endurance. The galaxy may not be ready for such a race." Every leader in the assembly felt a chill, though none wished to admit it. Humans were small, fragile, and unarmored. Yet they had survived against impossible odds. That defiance of expectation frightened the proudest empires. Meanwhile, in the rim of the galaxy, humans themselves were preparing for a threat that many did not yet sense. Captain Mara stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at the star lines that stretched toward the dark. Her second officer approached, holding reports from scouts. "The colonies we saved are sending envoys," he said. "They want protection. They see us as leaders." Mara shook her head. "We are not here to lead," she said firmly. "We are here to survive. If we gain followers, it will be because they choose to stand with us, never because we command them." Her eyes fell on a distant point in the void, where her scanners had detected irregular energy patterns. "Something stirs," she murmured. "Not humans. Something older, darker. The Voidborn are waking. And when they rise, no empire, no matter how strong, will survive alone." Her crew exchanged nervous glances. They had trained for danger, but the Voidborn were a name spoken only in whispers. Legends said they had destroyed whole civilizations long before the current empires rose. Back in the assembly, fear of humans had started to spread like wildfire. "Perhaps we should strike first," suggested one counselor of the Lurian Empire. "If they grow too strong, no army can stop them. We must act before it is too late." "No," shouted Luthen, standing from his seat. "Do you not see? They fight not to conquer, but to endure. They save, not destroy. They bring hope, not tyranny. If you strike them now, you will only awaken an enemy you cannot control. Humans are not like the others. They are not power-hungry, they are resilient." The chamber erupted into chaos. Threats were made, alliances whispered. Some feared humans as saviors, others feared them as future rulers. Amid this tension, a warning arrived from the edge of explored space. A scouting fleet of the Xylar Dominion had encountered strange ships moving through the void. They were massive, shadowy, almost invisible in the dark, and their engines emitted energy that no known technology could measure. The scouts' report sent tremors across every empire. These are not humans. These are older. They are beyond our understanding. They hunt the stars like predators. They are called Voidborn. The name fell like ice in the assembly halls. Few believed in the Voidborn anymore. Most thought them extinct legends, the kind told to frighten children. Yet the report was undeniable. Their presence could no longer be ignored. Humans, however, had already prepared. In the hidden sectors of uncharted space, Mara convened her fleet. She spoke to her crew with the calm authority that had earned her respect among humans and aliens alike. "We know they are coming," she said. "The Voidborn will not stop at colonies or empires. They are a force older than most civilizations. When they arrive, every race will face extinction unless we act. We may be few and our ships may seem fragile, but we have something they cannot break, our will to survive and our ability to adapt." A young pilot raised her hand. "Captain, how do we fight something so immense?" Mara's gaze did not waver. "Not with strength alone. With unity, with strategy, and with hope. That is human strength. They will underestimate us because we are not like them. That is our advantage." Her words carried across the bridge, and every human aboard felt it. A quiet determination that the galaxy had not seen in millennia. Meanwhile, colonies that had witnessed human deeds began to prepare as well. Farmers built small defenses. Merchants gathered supplies. Children trained to hide and help. Humans did not command them, they only inspired. That inspiration spread faster than fleets, faster than weapons. It was a strength no empire could calculate. In the assembly, the conversation shifted. Leaders debated alliances, wondering whether humans could be trusted. Some argued to embrace them, hoping their cunning and resilience might serve the galaxy. Others argued to strike first, fearing that if humans grew stronger, no empire could contain them. The insectoid queen's voice carried over the din. "We cannot predict humans. We cannot measure them. But one thing is certain. When the Voidborn arrive, the galaxy will need every fighter, every mind, every hand willing to endure. If we destroy them now, we will doom ourselves." Her words were met with murmurs, but also skepticism. Trust was rare in the galaxy, and humans had yet to prove loyalty to any empire. Yet quietly, even the most cynical leaders wondered, could these small, stubborn beings be the key to survival? And then the first strike came. A small mining colony on the edge of uncharted space reported attacks by shadowy ships. Entire fleets vanished without trace. Panic spread faster than light. The Empire's scrambled ships, but few had ever faced such enemies. Human scouts already in the sector mapping star lanes arrived first. Using clever maneuvers, traps hidden among asteroid fields, and sacrifices of older patched ships, the humans defended the colony. They slowed the Voidborn advance long enough for fleeing civilians to escape. It was not a complete victory. Many human vessels were lost, but their determination held. Even in the face of near-certain death, humans fought on. And the galaxy began to notice something new. Humans did not break. Even when they lost, they survived, adapted, and prepared for the next fight. Reports spread. Humans were different. No empire, no machine, no horde had ever faced a race that thrived in adversity. They did not have the strongest weapons, but they had a strength the galaxy had forgotten. Hope. Children across the stars repeated the stories of human bravery. Scholars wrote new treatises on their tactics. Leaders began to whisper that humans were not just survivors. They were a symbol that the galaxy could stand even in darkness. Even Warlord Threx, alone in his fortress, admitted under his breath, "They are dangerous. Not in the way I feared, in the way I respect." In the void, Mara stood once more at the bridge of her flagship. The stars seemed quiet, but she knew the stillness was only temporary. The Voidborn were awakening. Their hunger for destruction would soon reach every corner of the galaxy. "We cannot stop them alone," she told her crew. "But we can buy time. We can save lives. We can show the galaxy that strength is not just power, but will. And when the storm comes, it will be the humans who remind them that hope still exists." Her crew nodded. They were battered, scattered, and small, but they were human. And humans endured. The galaxy watched in awe, fear, and fascination. For the first time in millennia, a new lesson spread among the stars. Strength was not measured only in weapons or armies. It was measured in the courage to rise, to fight, and to survive again and again, and in that no race could match the humans. The shadows beyond the rim stirred. The Voidborn would soon emerge, but the galaxy had learned one truth. Humans, though small, were unstoppable in spirit. The stars had grown quiet, too quiet. Across the galaxy, scouts reported strange movements at the edge of explored space. Dark shapes twisted in the void, larger than any fleet, silent and relentless. The Voidborn had arrived. It began at the colonies nearest to the rim. Entire settlements vanished before alarms could even sound. Ships of unimaginable design swept through systems, their weapons tearing apart defenses without mercy. Panic spread faster than light. No empire was prepared. No council could organize a response. Fear dominated every corner of the galaxy. But humans did not panic. Captain Mara and her fleet had anticipated this moment. Though small in number, their vessels were fast, clever, and adaptable. Their crews had trained for years in impossible situations. Every human on those ships knew that failure was not an option, but even failure could be survived. The Voidborn are relentless, Mara said on the bridge of her flagship. We cannot defeat them alone, but we can slow them. We can save lives. We can give the galaxy hope. That is what humans do. We endure, and we rise again. Her officers nodded. They did not question her. They had seen her lead through battles where defeat seemed certain. They trusted her, because humans had a way of surviving when no one else could. The first encounter was brutal. In the shadow of a dying star, a fleet of human ships faced a Voidborn advance squadron. The enemy was massive, black as the void, with weapons that fired beams capable of slicing through entire ships. Yet humans did not flee. Instead, they scattered, weaving through debris, luring the Voidborn into traps carefully laid months in advance. Explosives hidden among asteroid belts tore through the enemy fleet. Human ships sacrificed themselves strategically, slowing the advance and protecting fleeing civilian vessels. Even when a human ship was destroyed, the crew fought until the last moment. They escaped in pods or fought to hold critical points. Every loss was measured, every action designed to give the galaxy a chance. For the first time, other races saw what humans truly were. They did not have the most firepower. They did not have the most advanced technology. But they had courage, ingenuity, and a will that refused to break. News spread. Ships of other races began to follow the humans, not out of loyalty, but because hope inspired them. Colonists who had once cowered began to fight alongside the humans. The galaxy slowly realized a truth it had long forgotten. Survival required unity. In the assembly, leaders who had once debated striking the humans now begged for their guidance. Warlord Threx, who had once sworn they were a threat, now admitted, "Without them, we would all be dead." They are not only survivors, they are leaders, though they do not call themselves such. Even the Forgemind Prime recalculated strategies not based on logic alone, but on human adaptability. Simulations proved humans could survive situations that no other race could. Where machines failed, humans found solutions. Where armies fell, humans rose again. The final battle began near the heart of the galaxy, at a system rich with trade routes and colonies. The Voidborn advanced in waves, dark and unstoppable. Empires scrambled to defend their worlds, but hope seemed fleeting. It was humans who stood at the center of the defense. Captain Mara coordinated not only her fleet, but the scattered forces of every willing species. Humans led, humans fought, and humans inspired. They adapted in real time, changing tactics faster than the enemy could predict. Fleets that were once enemies now moved in harmony under human guidance. Colonies that feared destruction now resisted, holding ground that would otherwise have been lost. Every ship, every soldier, every human acted with a single purpose: survival. For themselves and for the galaxy. The Voidborn were unlike any enemy the galaxy had faced. Their ships could regenerate. Their weapons destroyed defenses in moments, and their numbers seemed infinite. Yet humans did not falter. Captain Mara called out orders calm and clear. She saw a young pilot hesitate, about to flee. "Do not think of death," she said. "Think of survival. Think of hope. We rise again no matter what." The pilot nodded and turned back into the fight. His courage, like that of every human, spread through the fleet. The other races followed suit. Even the fiercest warlords and the most precise machines adapted to human strategies. For the first time, The galaxy realized what humans truly were, not the strongest, not the largest, but the most unyielding. Hours turned to days. Battles raged across multiple systems. Human ingenuity created new weapons from old technology, improvised shields and tactics that made the Voidborn falter. A single human vessel acted as a decoy, drawing a massive enemy ship into a trap. Another human ship carried refugees, weaving through enemy lines with precision that no computer could calculate. Every action mattered, every sacrifice was measured, and every human understood that survival was not just about fighting. It was about hope. As the Voidborn began to retreat from the coordinated defenses, the galaxy understood something profound. Humans were not a myth. They were not just survivors. They were a force that united all, a spark in the dark that refused to die. At the assembly, the leaders stood in awe. Luthen spoke once more, his voice trembling with emotion. We called them myths, we called them fragile, and we feared them. But we were wrong. They are humans, and in them the galaxy has learned something new. Strength is not measured by size or weapon. Strength is measured by will, by courage, by hope. Even Warlord Threx, standing among his peers, bowed his head slightly. They are extraordinary. The Forge Mind Prime for the first time allowed a note of admiration in its voice. Humans are unpredictable, adaptable, and resilient. They are beyond calculation. They are perfect in their persistence. And so the galaxy repeated the name over and over, human. It was no longer just a word. It was a symbol. It was a promise. Every star system, every planet, every colony would remember it. The beings who were thought fragile had stood against a force older than empires and survived. They had not only survived, they had led the galaxy in the darkest hour. Children played games pretending to be human defenders. Scholars wrote histories celebrating their courage. Soldiers trained to think as humans did, to adapt, to endure, to rise no matter the odds. The name echoed across the stars. Human. Captain Mara stood on her bridge, watching the stars once more. The Voidborn had retreated for now, but the fight was not over. She knew other dangers lurked in the darkness, and that survival required vigilance. Yet she smiled. Humans had reminded the galaxy of something it had long forgotten, that even the smallest, most underestimated beings could rise again, again, and again, that courage, will, and hope could change the course of history, that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, life could endure. We survived, she said softly, and we will continue, because we are human, and humans never give up. The galaxy learned a new truth that day. It had many powerful races, fleets, and weapons, but there was only one race that could rise again no matter the challenge. Only one race whose name would echo through history as a symbol of hope, courage, and endurance. Human. And as long as humans endured, the galaxy would never forget the lesson they taught. Strength is not in might alone. It is in spirit, in will, and in the unbreakable determination to rise. Again and again, the elders had returned, and the galaxy had finally learned their true name.